Well, welcome, Rebecca, to my YouTube channel. Just so everybody knows, Rebecca is the one who did my audiobook, which will be out on Audible soon. And so I wanted to bring her on and talk a little bit, about her experience in doing the book and anything that resonated with her and that you can share with us. Just so you know, Rebecca, my audience, a lot of them come from self-realization, like realizing their true nature, their infinite self. As you know, you went through the book, so you probably have a good idea on the content and the audience that this resonates with. But maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself first and your background and what you do and how this all came about.
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks for having me on your show, Rob. This is awesome. And I thoroughly enjoyed narrating your audiobook. I thought it was amazing, really well written. And I like more so, I loved the content of it. Whenever I take on audiobooks to do the narration part, because it is such a time commitment for me to read the whole book through and edit it and everything, I'm very intentional with the books that I like to work with. So I was really excited when you asked me to do yours because it's right in line with where I'm at in my journey in life, and I just really loved the overall message of it, of the self-realization, living in the present moment and everything. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you for choosing me. I thought it was awesome. A little bit about me. I so I had I'm on my own path of learning to live in the present moment and kind of separating my societal and cultural conditioning from my Western culture upbringing. So I was full-fledged in the midst of it up until just probably about a year ago, I would say, really.
Okay.
Um, and so I spent the last decade of my life building and growing my bakery business from the ground up. So a little bit of background before that, I dropped out of high school at 16. I had a really rough childhood and upbringing. So I had no education, no experience, and I started this bakery business and ended up growing it from the ground up to over $1 million in sales.
Oh,
And so it was a very successful business. I was the prime example of in your book, the opposite of that. I was in hustle mode, grind mode, very, monetary driven, money focused, everything that we're taught in the Western culture that is supposed to be the, you know,
the way to bring
epitome of,
happiness and joy, yeah, it's a
yeah,
little bit of comfort zone. Yeah.
exactly what everyone strives to be. And so, during my building my bakery business, I ironically ended up embarking on a health and wellness journey near like probably about 2 years before I actually closed my business down because it no longer aligned with my health and wellness journey. And along with my health and wellness journey, I ended up losing about 70 pounds. I, quit
Congratulations,
eating
that's
a lot of
great.
processed foods.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah, that was I mean, I went from this person who was all about sugar and, I drank a lot of alcohol, a really unhealthy lifestyle to completely overhauling that while I was running my bakery business. So I felt like it was so unaligned with the person that I had actually become. And as I started bettering myself with health and wellness, I started learning about, living in the present moment and slowing down and you know, that we are not all of these labels as you talk about in your book.
Mhm.
And that really got me thinking. And I ended up realizing that I ended up having a situation where I ended up in the hospital and I was
Mm.
very stressed out. And I thought to myself while I was in the hospital, I was like, some people go to the hospital and they never get to come home after. And I think that that was really the awakening moment for me to realize that there is so much more to life than what culture and society has conditioned us to believe. And that's what really started to get me into this journey of, spiritual awakening, self realization, present moment living, and really focusing on relationships and connections and health and well being and all of these things that matter to our human nature and not to all of this man made things that, society wants you to believe just to keep our economy going. So that was my awakening moment. And I'm pretty new, I would say, to the self realization stuff. So that's why I really enjoyed reading your book because it helped me understand it even that much further.
No, that's great. That's a great introduction. I didn't realize all that. Even like when it came about, when I was just like looking on Audible to see who to do, I don't know, for some reason it just went right to you. I heard your voice and I just knew like right away. It was like effortless. Like my intuition just knew, oh, this is where it should go. And then, I sent you the message and off we go. And it all just came about effortlessly and everything went so smooth and effortless. And so I was thankful for that. And so you never know like why people meet or, do they meet for no reason? Like, why does this all come
I
about?
always think that that is synchronicity and just
Mhm.
like it's just meant to like so many of the people that I meet or run into, I'm like, why did that person sit next to me
Mhm.
out of anybody who could have? And then we connected and have so much in common. Like, I think that it's so, I'm still in the, like, it still shocks me when that happens, but I know that it's the universe working its magic,
Mhm.
especially the more aligned I am in my own life and just pursuing my passion and sending the high vibrational stuff out into the universe. I know that that attracts it, but
Mhm.
it still blows my mind when I make these connections and I'm like, it's just so crazy when that happens, but I love that. That's
Yeah,
really
the
cool.
timing is just like everything just happens at the right time and who shows up in our lives and whatnot. But like you said, on your journey to self-realization and you've been on the spiritual journey and discovering, your infinite self and being authentic to, what you really are. And I know you had mentioned that when you were going through the audiobook, there was one chapter in particular that kind of resonated with you that you had sent me into the email. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so that was chapter 10
Hmm.
and I loved it. And it was all about manifesting.
Hmm.
And I have been really interested in manifesting my like since I was probably about 18, like when the book The Secret first came out, that's I really was interested in it even when I was young like that, but truthfully didn't really understand it to the full potential. And I feel like I've just since I found out about it, I've been kind of learning as I go. And really until I read chapter 10 about your perspective of manifesting, I felt like it really clicked much more so than anything else I've ever really heard about it, or, I've read so many books about it, and you just really put it into perspective about how to manifest in a way that is not forceful and it's more about, you know, pursuing what lights you up and gives you that high vibrational frequency to be able to attract those things and to not, I think in our culture we're so conditioned to, think that we have to control the pathway to get to where we want to go. And we are very much like we want to be in control. We feel like we need to be in control. We feel like that's the only way to, achieve anything in life is to control the situation and the how. And I love that you said you don't need to control the how. You just need to align yourself so that you can attract these things and let them flow to you effortlessly.
Hmm.
And I love when you said about how you have to let go of what you think you want because the universe oftentimes has something better in store for you. And I think with, social media and our societal conditioning and everything, especially in our Western culture, we are fed all of this stuff from marketing to think what we should want and think, that this is the way to get there. And even if you look at a lot of mentors and business people and motivational speakers, a lot of them do promote the hustle culture and the hustle mentality, which
Yes.
is pretty opposing to the effortless flow of it. So I've kind of, I went from following all of these motivational people to more of the, Michael Singer and Eckhart Tolle
Yeah.
and that kind of effortless,
Yeah.
effortless being like you would
Right.
say. And it feels so much better and it actually makes so much more sense when you read it in your book and you start to practice it. It actually feels better and it makes way more sense. And so I'm really excited to implement the stuff that maybe you can even elaborate on explaining the chapter 10 because I felt like it was
Yeah.
just so mind-blowing to me and I loved it.
Yeah, manifesting from effortlessness. So really it's manifesting from beingness. Like that's really what our true nature is. And that's something that, we discover. It's been here the whole time. It's impersonal and it's effortless. So we're all manifesting whether we realize it consciously or not, but we can have some control over the what we're manifesting. And so a lot of it is getting in alignment with our true selves, discovering what we truly are, being authentic, and realizing our infinite nature, that we really are the infinite being having a human experience. So it's really about our beingness. So if we just take a moment right now and instead of looking out there to manifest or to have something to make us happy, if we just turn it around and go within, we can really feel our aliveness, our beingness. It's really that simple. It's as simple as just our consciousness. And we're in alignment with that, things just tend to flow through us effortlessly. When we start resisting, and we start putting forth all this effort and striving to get what we want to manifest, that's when you see whatever you resist persists, and whatever you're trying to like strive and get, that's not, you're not really in the natural flow of manifesting. That's why it seems so hard. So when we're manifesting from effortlessness, from our beingness, from our true nature, of our infinite nature, of what all of us truly are, then it just flows effortlessly. It feels effortless when you're in alignment. So really what you want to do is just follow your bliss, follow what feels easy, whatever feels expansive. If it starts feeling constricted or like hard and striving, just, sit back and just kind of let it go and just, pause for a minute. You can pause your thoughts and be like, okay, well, what is it that I'm thinking right now? Like, what are these thoughts? Because the first realization we have is that we're not really our thoughts. Like Eckhart Tolle was one of the ones that I had listened to too. I heard his book. What resonated with me was in The Power of Now, when he was talking about what a big realization for me was, well, wait a second, I'm not my thoughts. Because I'm aware of my thoughts, so how can I be my thoughts? So that's what like took my search like inside to figure out, well, what is this? What is this beingness? Like, what am I really? And so I kind of went on that path. And then, like you said, The Secret, that resonated with me too, about manifesting. Rhonda Byrne wrote a great book on manifesting, which appealed to me. It's like, wait a second, I can actually create my own reality. So now I felt empowered, like, because I always used to think that life just happened to me, like that I had no control over it. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like disempowered. So I'm like, wait a second, this book is saying that actually, like, thoughts turn to things, that if I were to think about what it is that I want all the time, that's all I would ever get. And that the reason why things don't manifest is because I'm thinking about something that I don't want, or I have a belief, a limited belief that that's not going to occur, and that cancels out, what it is that I want. And then you talk about vibrational frequencies. It's a frequency game. Like if we're in the frequency of appreciation and love and joy, then that's what's reflected back in our life experience. But if we're have these limited beliefs like, oh, I'm in lack, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve this, then that's kind of like what manifests on the outside, because we're infinite consciousness looking through these different lenses. And when we look, the beliefs are like these lenses that we're peering into to look, and that's kind of like what's on that channel. But we can change the channel by the frequency of the vibration that we're at. So if we're feeling joyful, we're feeling appreciative, we know our true nature, that we're infinite beings, and that we can create our own reality, and that we deserve it, and we what we want is love for all, the good for all, the joy for all. Then those are the things that are going to manifest effortlessly for us. And then Rhonda Byrne had come out with another book called The Greatest Secret. Did you read that one or listen to that one on audiobook?
No, I have her book, something the magic of, I think the magic of the secret or something like that, but
Yep.
I haven't read that one, so that sounds
That
awesome.
that was the one that really resonated with me. Was so The Secret kind of got my interest. Then she came out with The Greatest Secret, and that one was all about self-realization. So she kind of took The Secret to another level, where what's really behind this, like what's really going on, on a spiritual level, like identifying your true nature and manifesting from there. So that book was all about The Greatest Secret, was all about self-realization, realizing your true self. And in that book, she had different teachers in there. She had some of like Eckhart Tolle stuff was in there. Um, she had Rupert Spira, like different ones that are known for spirituality, or just for effortless being. Some non-duality stuff like that was in it. But David Bingham was the one that she had mentioned that she had learned her true nature from. That Rhonda had learned her true
Oh,
nature from.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
and so
awesome.
she
Yeah,
mentioned
because
him in the
he wrote the foreword for your book, which is
yeah, he was the
awesome.
one who wrote the forward for the
Yeah.
book, which the way it
Yeah.
came about was I just had sent him an email. Like I said, hey, David, I read the Greatest Secret. This really resonated with me. I realized that I'm the infinite being. We had some dialogue going back and forth in email, and he was like, yeah, you realize your true nature. And so then he invited me to go on and do some interviews too. So then I went and did that, and then people started contacting me, um, you know, wanting to learn more about it. And then next thing you know, I have a YouTube channel. I'm doing that, and then I went and
Mhm.
published a book about it, and now I have
Yeah.
like coaching calls with people, about it. So that's how it all came about. So really, it was what he said was. And the greatest secret that for me was, like, I guess whatever you want to call it, an awakening moment or just realizing my true self was he said the words like, you are the infinite being having a human experience. So that really, I don't know, it just hit me at that moment. I realized, wait a second, I'm not just this limited person, this limited self. Because I used to think whatever the voice in your head, that commentator, that announcer is always
Hmm.
like commenting on everything that's happening. I used to think, well, that
Yeah.
was me. But then I said, wait a second, I'm aware of that. So that can't be me. Because I'm thinking of what Eckhart Tolle said. And then when David said, you're the infinite being, I never heard anybody use that term, infinite being, having a human
Mm-mm.
experience. So, like, okay, so I'm just having this human experience. It's the infinite being that's peering into the human experience, that's having these experiences. But really, these experiences aren't really affecting the infinite being that I am. I used to think that, I was this separate person and all these things were happening to me. But really, at the whole time, it was really the infinite being peering through, and we're just having a human experience. So experiences come and go. So we all know that you can't be something that comes and goes, but you're that which is permanent. Which, but I'm gonna say, what's permanent in my life? What's always been unchanging? Even when I was a little boy at 2, 3, I could remember just being aware, of everything,
Hmm.
everything just arising effortlessly or neutrally. And I was kind of like the infinite space where everything was just happening and everything was neutral, and I didn't really give too much meaning to it. And then when the mind comes in, everybody kept saying, "Oh, you're this separate person called Rob." I just kind of put a sticker over it or an overlay over what this was. But the whole time, we all remain as this one infinite being. We just kind of take on these different roles in life, like dad or Rob. I went to school here, I went to college there.
Yeah.
I like
Careers,
this.
labels,
Yeah, like all
everything.
these like
Yeah.
stickers and labels over me, but that's not the true essence of what I am. Yeah, I play those roles in the world of duality,
Hmm.
but really, we're all remaining as this pristine, infinite being. It's kind of like the way I think of it is that really resonate with me is like you tend to think like an actor. An actor goes out there and he acts and he plays like a role. Like I did some acting. My sister had got me into playing some roles. They weren't like talking roles. They were like standby kind of roles, and then you kind of just go in there and do it. But I was in the
Hmm.
one that was in Creed 2. It was in that. It was the guy who like rang the bell on Creed 2. And at the end, when Michael Jordan
Nice.
like up on the in the boxing ring and the press was coming up, I'm like holding back. You can see me like in that last scene, just for that little split second. But it just reminds me like
Yeah, that's
we're
cool.
all playing like this actor role. But no matter what's going on in that movie, like even in Creed 2, whatever's happening in that movie, like Michael Jordan, he's boxing, he's fighting. And then as soon as he's done with that, what they would say cut, as soon as he's done with the role, he's like, oh, okay, hey Rob, yeah, it's cool. Like I'm going out to dinner with my wife, whatever. But like, so what I'm saying is,
So true. Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing that's just an act that everything he's doing, but nothing really touches him. So he's not like affected by anything going on in the movie. And it's the same way with life here in the human experience. We have all these things that are happening and people are taking it seriously and thinking it's happening, to them personally, but we
Hmm.
always remain as the infinite being. We're not touched by any of these things that are happening. It's like the actor isn't affected by the role that he's playing. So it's the same thing.
Exactly. I think that's a really good analogy, actually, is thinking of it with the acting analogy. I think that that's really it makes it, a lot easier to understand for people to wrap their head around it because I think when people first, but for me anyways, when I first learned about this, I think it was the first book I ever read about that was The Untethered Soul.
Mhm.
And I started it and I was like, I just was reading the words, trying to wrap my head around it. I'm like, this is like next level. And I had to really, take it slowly, let it sink in, and really start to question a lot of things. And it took me a while to actually really wrap my head around it because when you are explaining it to somebody, it's, our society is set up the polar opposite of that. So we've spent however many years on this earth being conditioned in
Yep.
this society that's pretty much the polar opposite. It tells you all of these things that are really more ego driven and egocentric that
Mhm.
you're supposed to strive for and they're supposed to make you happy and fulfilled. And a lot of people spend their entire lives striving for that stuff and don't realize why they're feeling so unfulfilled or unaligned or unhappy because it's the polar opposite of how we're meant to be as human beings. So it's kind of crazy when you actually think about it. And when you realize it, I always say the term, I can't unlearn this. So now that I've learned it, I'm like, it's ingrained in my head and
Mhm.
you know, it's challenging too to be aware of this and then also surrounded by a society who is not aware of that because friends and family, if they don't understand it or practice themselves, it's interesting to have conversations about what they're, striving towards or working towards. And it's like, but kind of how it really is, like as an actual human being. And you can see the things that they think are going to create this, happiness and fulfillment. And you just know that that's not going to happen. But I mean, I know that everybody's on their own journey and
Yeah.
realizing at their own pace. So, I try to be patient with that, but it's hard to have conversations with people who are not aware of that stuff. So what do you with your friends and family in your life with this and your book and everything, how do you find that?
Well, what I do is I just get on calls with you and then I can have conversations about it. Like it's good because
Yeah, you
I could
find the
talk to
people who know.
I
Yeah,
find,
that's
yeah,
true.
so then, you just basically you have your intuition. I talk about in the book how you have intuition,
I
that
love
kind of
that
like
factor too. The
that inner
intuition so important.
knowing. Yeah, that inner knowing that and you just know like if it's going to resonate with the person or not. And you kind of tell, you get a feel like for people's energy or how they act, you can kind of tell, you can feel them out, like if they're going to be open to this, if the infinite being is going to
Yeah.
open it up to them, it'll become effortless. Like if you're putting forth all this effort to try to tell someone something, that's not the time. It'll more
Mm,
be like the natural, like I talk about in the book, like that natural flow of life that we just get in alignment with that. And it kind of just flows. So you'll kind of know. And then the infinite being will bring everything to you, kind of like how we meet and we're just able to have this conversation, effortlessly without any real resistance coming up, about it. It just kind of just flows. So, even like, because I have two teenagers, I have a 17-year-old, 19-year-old, and I have an older daughter, 27. So I have three girls. And, actually, Abby, my 17-year-old, I was having her listen to your audiobook through it, just say, just go through it, another person just to hear it. And she's like reading the book and going over it, like looking at what you were doing. And so
nice.
like she was open to that, and she's like, oh, Dad, this was interesting or that. And like she would say different things. Um, so, sometimes they resonate with them. The other one might be like, "Oh, Dad, I want to hear about that." Like they're just not ready for it. So
Yeah.
it just depends on if it's
I
resonating.
think it's really cool though for them to be exposed to it at least to
Mhm.
like have that idea because, like probably you or me, like we weren't exposed to that, through childhood or anything like that. So just even having that in the back of their mind as they're going through life and going through the teenage years, early adulthood, even having the awareness of the types of books that you're reading and the types of people you're talking to. I think it's really cool to be exposed to that at such a young age
Mhm.
because even if they don't know, they don't really understand it fully yet, which I would never expect them to, like down the road in the back of their mind as they're going through life, they're going to think about that. And I think that probably it'll help form some of their decisions going forward at some point when they realize that it's so important and beneficial.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is they feel a little more empowered. I could see them feeling a little more empowered with themselves and believing like better, like they deserve things in life and that they have more self-confidence,
Yeah.
self-esteem that way. Because when you realize, hey, I'm not just this limited person, I can be, do, and have anything. There's infinite possibilities. Dad's always telling me that, and like, look inside, look what you really are. Like, you don't have to
So true.
believe all the conditioning, the commentary that, oh, you're not good enough or you're limited or any of these things. We're comparing
Even
yourself
just the
with other people.
comparing on social
Mhm.
media as a teenager, a young woman is probably really challenging. Like I up in a time where social media was kind of just starting, so it wasn't super prevalent for me growing up. Well, we didn't really have too much social media, I wouldn't say. We had MySpace, but like it was
Yeah.
kind of just starting, and now people are literally growing up with it and, getting phones at a young age, getting access to social media, all of the comparison, all of not just that, but all of the advertisements that are on there from companies, telling you who you should be, what you should look like, what you should want, what you should strive for. And it's confusing and it really is, dampening to the human spirit. And it's really sad, right? So I think it's awesome that they're being exposed to that so early on.
Yeah, it's funny when TikTok they just recently they had went dark for a while, and my kids were up like till
Yeah.
till the midnight till it went, and they came out of the rooms and they were like, and they're like, Dad, it went down. I said, Oh no, what are you gonna do now? And then the next
Yeah.
morning they come out, Dad, it's back. We survived the TikTok outage of 2025. Like we're
That's
survivors of
hilarious.
it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
wow,
so
you can live
funny.
without it, right? It's not like that big a
Yeah.
deal. But yeah, they kind
Yeah.
of grew up with it too because I had work. I've been in the wireless industry since we had like brick phones and bag phones. I worked with Singular Wireless, AT&T Wireless, some of these big companies. So I did that for like 30 years. That was like kind of my business, what I would do. So I kind of grew up like with that. And they were kind of exposed to cell phones because I always get like free phones for the family and everything. And so they've been influenced by social media. So they've been definitely exposed to it. And we've had many conversations, about social media because there are some dangers in it, as you mentioned, or they may, like you said, they condition you to think that you're not good enough because you're seeing other, for example, I have teenage
Yeah.
daughters, so you're seeing other teenage girls on there and saying, this is what makes you happy, being beautiful and like the outward appearance, and maybe not so much focused on, your inner being of what you truly are, your essence and stuff like that. So they kind of like there's a lot of conditioning and stuff like that, but so we've had some
Well,
really good
and all of
conversations.
the product stuff on there too. You see all these people doing like Sephora hauls and hauls of this and like all of the materialism that comes from that. And it
Yeah.
really does condition people to believe that in order to be happy, like the influencer on Instagram, I also need to have all of this stuff that they're buying because they look happy on the internet doing that, right? So it's really challenging that way, but I think it's really important to teach people, not just teenagers, but teach people in general how to coexist with social media because obviously there's pros to it. Like you have your YouTube channel, you can spread your message. So many pros to it as long as there's boundaries and as long as you're taking care of yourself and you understand that those things don't buy happiness and you understand that, you do need to make real life connections outside of social media. Like these people on the internet are not your actual friend. You need to have in-person interactions in order to feel fulfilled and happy because connections are such an important part of it. And social media kind of gives the illusion that we have all of these friends, but it's not the same as a human in-person interaction. So as long as you understand all of that, you can have a healthy relationship with social media and use it to your advantage and use it to spread your message. Because I mean, it is really the one of the best ways to get your message out there, as I'm sure you know with your YouTube channel and everything.
That is, yeah, social media can be good as well. They could be like anything in life. It could be good or bad depending on how you're using it. But I want to go back to something you said about, finding that happiness and that joy because the world makes the picture that, the happiness and the joy is out there. But really, I mean, happiness and joy is we already have that. Like all we have to do is just look
Yeah.
inside. And I think about Eckhart Tolle's book that kind of stood out to me when he wrote in there, like the way he started off his book, The Power of Now was he said there was a beggar sitting down on a stool or whatever, and he was like begging, and then the man said to the guy, to the beggar, he's like, "Well, what's underneath there under your stool?" He's like, "I don't know. I never looked inside the stool to see." So he pulled it out, and it was like a pot of gold. Really, he was rich beyond rich. He had all that gold. It was just, and they were comparing it to like how your happiness and your joy is really inside you, inside you. We're looking for materialism. We're looking for this thing, this relationship, this material possession, this vacation, this car, this house, this.
All the external stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but really the happiness and joy is if we just pause and we just look inside even if you just ask yourself, Rebecca, like right now, like what's wrong with this moment right now? Unless I think about it.
It's
Because
perfect
there's nothing.
moment.
We
It's
have it.
perfect.
It's perfect. Everything's
Yeah.
perfect. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
We're all really okay. There's nothing serious going on. Everything is
Hmm.
okay if we just stay in this moment. It's just that when we go to the mind, when we go to our
Yeah,
thoughts, and we think that we're this separate, limited person, or we believe that thought, that's when all the problems are. If you see, it's all really in your thoughts is where all the issues
it
are.
really
But
is. Yeah.
right here,
And
every
that's, I love the chapter. I love the chapter that you wrote on the present moment too. I'm
Mhm.
really passionate about talking to people about living in the present and helping them realize what it means to live in the present moment because a lot of us don't know what that even means or feels like or how to do it. And it really is about reining in your thoughts and reining in your, all of your future thoughts that really contribute to anxiety a lot of the time, all of your past thoughts that really contribute to depression, and realizing that those thoughts are not real in this moment that we have right now, and learning to separate that can really relieve people of a lot of mental health issues that people are struggling with so much now with anxiety and depression. And it can really help with that when you learn how to live in the present moment. So I loved your chapter on that. I thought that that was really awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really going to help people with mental health issues because a lot of people are believing their thoughts. And so if you believe your thoughts, they're
Yeah.
saying, I'm not good enough, or you don't deserve this, or you're a bad person, or guilt, or whatever it is that the mind's telling you. If you realize I'm not my thoughts, those are just thoughts in this
Hmm.
infinite open space of beingness, doesn't apply to the true you, because the true you is loving, it's infinite, it's neutral, it's just right here, right now. It's the immediacy of this. So it's not the real you. So if you realize that, how are you going to really start? It's almost like a person watching a movie, like we're watching a movie, almost like The Matrix, like you're watching
Hmm.
this movie going on. But you're not like actually in the movie doing all those things. You're just kind of here witnessing, what's going on. So it's
Yeah.
not really affecting you. So any of those thoughts that are giving you those limited beliefs or telling you any of those things, they're just not true. They're just not. It's an illusion. Really, the true you is infinite. It's happy. It's joyful, it's neutral, it's expansive, it's beingness. It's just the immediacy of what's right here, right now. There really is nothing wrong with right now. Like if you really just sit here and go with that. I mean,
I
then
know.
the mind comes in and says, okay, well, what about work tomorrow? What about this bill? What about, this relationship over here? Or, and so your mind like goes in. It's just like, well, those aren't my thoughts. Those are just thoughts that are being beamed in. I can choose to believe them or not. I mean, if I want to go on that ride, I think
Yeah, it
that like
really is all
invitation.
about slowing down because the society is so fast
Mhm.
paced and it's really over glorified all the hustle mentality and,
Mhm.
striving mentality. And so when you start to slow down physically and just take a step back and learn how to appreciate the present moment, it's so important to do that. And I think slowing down is really the key in doing that because when we let our brains just run rampant with to-do lists in our mind and we're always thinking about what's next, like I don't know about you, but whenever I'm talking to somebody and I can tell that they're not fully present, I'm like, I'm wasting my time because they're not going to remember any. It's like I'm talking to somebody if they're intoxicated. They're not going to remember
They're
what I
like
told
drunk,
them.
like,
So there's
oh,
no
what
point
a
in doing
person.
that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing when you're talking to somebody and they're not present with you. Like you're having a conversation, say they're like you're checking their phone, they're checking their Apple Watch, and it's like they're just not present. And it's, if you just took a step back, your phone will be there, your notifications will still be there, and make space for the person who is sharing a moment of their time with you. It's so impactful. And that's how you can really cultivate a lot of genuine connections and depth in your relationships. And I think it's really important to slow down and just be aware and listen to your thoughts. And once you start to do that, you'll realize how much your thoughts really can do you dirty a lot of the time. And reformulating your thoughts as well, like reformulating them into more positive affirmations. And that takes a lot of time and practice because I feel like as humans, we're just conditioned to be more on the negative side. So it does take a lot of effort and mindfulness to reprogram our mind to think more positively and more confidently and have better thoughts about ourselves and everything. But the more that we doing that, I've noticed in my life now my thoughts most of the time are pretty positive
It's
because I've
great.
put in the effort to retrain my brain. Like just like you train a dog, right? I just retrain my brain. We're not gonna think about this right now. We're gonna think about this. And the more you do that, it does become more effortless.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the key there is what you said is effortless and like slowing down. And you'll find that like when you realize your true nature, when you know that like you're so sure, like you just know it, kind of like you know you're a man, you know you're like you know that you're the infinite being, you know that those thoughts don't apply to you. It's almost like they become humorous. It's like, okay, it's telling me I'm not good. I already know what I am. Like, really? Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you kind of almost have like that attitude like towards it. Like it's just kind of funny because you know that you're love, that you're joy, that you're infinite, you have infinite possibilities. You can be doing it, have anything you want. So you know that about yourself. You have that almost like that confidence is coming through. So when those thoughts come, it's
Hmm.
kind of like, come on, really? It's like if somebody called me up on the phone and said,
Yeah.
"Rob, you're dumb or you're not good enough." Like I'd be like, "Okay,
Hmm.
whatever," and I go about my day. Saying it's only like,
Yeah,
but
it
if
is
some,
actually. That's a great example.
yeah, it's almost like
It's
if
a great example because a lot of people get really wrapped up in other people's opinions and criticisms of them. And when you have the self-realization, you are mindful about it and you understand how all of this works and being in the present and being mindfulness, that all of that criticism rolls off you. You just literally, it's just not true. And you just understand that that person who is saying that negative stuff to you is suffering, and it's through their perspective and their lens, and they're projecting that onto you. And it really it's such a beautiful moment to realize that it no longer bothers you because you're just like, I'm a good human, I'm kind, and I'm love, and I'm present and I'm happy, and that stuff does not affect you in the same way that it does when you are very ego driven and very in the hustle and grind of everything else.
Yeah, I remember doing a coaching call with someone, and they were believing they were caught up in their thoughts, and it was really I could see how it was really affecting their lives. They were really buying into it, and so they were depressed, having a lot of anxiety and stuff. And I just said to them, okay, these thoughts that you're having, okay, are you aware of them? And they were like, well, yeah, of course I'm aware of them. Aware of them. So I said, well, if you're aware of those thoughts, how can you be those thoughts? And they just kind of paused for a minute and were like, yeah, that's true. There's two voices here. It's the one that can see it, that's witnessing it, and then there's another thought, a voice that's saying that you are this. So there can't be two of you. There's only one of you. So which is the one that's true? You're the one that's aware
So
of the
true.
thoughts. So again, once they realize, oh, wait a second, I'm the one that's aware of the thoughts. Okay, these are just thoughts that are coming. I'm personalizing them and making them me, and now I'm having that life experience through that lens because I gave it belief. Whatever I'm believing is being projected out here, and that's the life experience I'm having. So all I need to do is just realize that that thought doesn't apply to me, and I reach for a better feeling thought. One that's empowering, one that's more in line with my true nature, which is joy, ease, expansiveness, peaceful, infinite, infinite possibilities. Like that's the way it is. And so once they realized that, I could see like the relief on their face, and they realized it. And then they said to me, yeah, it's kind of like, which I thought was a good analogy they used too, is they said, it's almost like, when you're growing up, mom and dad tell you that Santa Claus is real. And once you realize that Father
Mm,
Christmas isn't real, like it's like you laugh.
yeah.
Like it's almost like the thoughts are
Yeah.
like Santa Claus coming up saying,
So true.
"Oh, well, you're not good enough, or you can't do this." It's kind of like,
Exactly.
come
That's
on,
such a
like
good analogy. I
it's
love
like you
that.
said,
Yeah.
like once you've seen it, you've seen it. Like Father Christmas is
Yeah, you
also
can't unsee it.
it
You're
takes the
like,
sting
yeah.
out of it. It's just kind of like it becomes humorous.
Yeah.
It's like this is just a game. Like, come on, I already know what I truly am.
So true.
Everything's fine. Everything's okay. We're all at peace. There's nothing serious really going on. I mean, when you identify, I will say that when you identify with those thoughts and you believe that you are that, then yeah, it does feel really, you can really feel it. You know what I'm saying? But once you see
Hmm.
through it, then there's that relief that comes at peace because you've seen through the game almost like it's like that little person behind the curtain.
100%.
Like you
Yeah,
see through it.
100%.
And so
Yeah.
then you have that
Yeah.
peace and that joy and your intuition kind of knows that we all know that I mean, it's really simple. It's just that, are you aware? Yeah, you are, you're aware. That's basically it. Like that's what's going on. You're
Why
aware.
do you think that people struggle so much, following their intuition and actually listening to their intuition. Because I feel like we all have that, but I always hear a lot of questions about people who are like, how do I know when it's my intuition? And I love that chapter that you wrote about with intuition. And I think that it's so, so important to life and making decisions in all
Yeah,
areas.
it's almost like because we're conditioned from a young age, before the age of 2, everything is just
Yeah.
arising simply, and we're not like judging it or saying this applies to me. We're not personalizing it. Everything's arising equally and effortlessly for no one. It's just like as a little kid, you're not like personalizing it. That's why you see kids when they get like below the age of 2, like if they get frustrated with something, they get frustrated, mad, then they'll just be happy like the next moment because they're not
Yep.
personalizing it. But it's just through conditioning. Like we go through life, our teachers, society, we're told that we have to live a certain way, and then we kind of buy into, wait a second, I'm this separate person and I have this role and I have this identity. So it's kind of like on the level of identity, they're identifying, that they're this person, this particular person that has all of these problems and all of these limitations. But your intuition is just your inner knowing. It's like, but deep down we all know, like we recognize, that we are the infinite being, that we are effortless, we're just here. And so the way to know your intuition is just whatever comes naturally in the flow, whatever ease there is, whatever easy effortlessness there is. And if you're putting forth a lot of effort and strife, or you're feeling constricted because somebody's telling you, like, that feeling, like if somebody's telling you you're not good enough,
Yeah.
because you feel that constriction because it's your intuition telling you that's not true. So it's kind of like your intuition
Yeah.
can work like your GPS system. So it's almost like the emotions. Like, so if you're feeling like appreciation and love and joy and empowerment, that's your intuition. But if you're feeling, angry, depressed, not good enough, disempowered, that's not your intuition. Don't listen to that. That's not what your true nature is. So it's like your GPS, like your intuition telling you, which way to go, which way to lean, which way to go with the
Yeah, and I think too, like our conditioning is more so teaching us to make decisions out of logic and out of what makes sense. And I think a lot of us spend so much time talking ourselves out of our intuition a lot of the time and trying to rationalize things and trying to be like, if I meet somebody and I got a bad vibe, for example, and I just felt, the energy was off and I felt that would be my intuition. But we're conditioned to be polite, we're conditioned to be, nice and everything like that. And to overlook that and to second guess our intuition and to be like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'll overlook that. Maybe I'll, whatever. And then you hear all of these stories where people had the intuition, they overlooked it, and they get into a really crappy experience because of that. And our intuition is there to keep us safe and to keep us on the right path for us. And so when we choose to override that, that often leads to really, less than favorable outcomes, I would say. And I've always had a really strong sense of intuition. And I like to challenge things. I don't know if you know what the Enneagram is, but I'm an Enneagram 8. It's a personality test type thing,
Oh,
and it's a challenger. So mine's a challenger. And so I like to challenge a lot of things. I challenge, societal conditioning. Anything that I learn, I like to challenge and kind of see the opposite perspective of things. And so, when it comes to my intuition, it was hard to learn to follow it in the beginning because I would just challenge it and I would challenge myself and I would be like, you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just making up this story in my head of why I don't like this person. But no, my body physically feels
yeah,
uncomfortable
restricted.
around this person. I
Yeah,
should probably listen to that. And your body does send you signals.
yeah.
And so I think the more in tune you are with, your mind body connection, the more you will actually pick up on those signals much quicker. And you just feel it. Like people get goosebumps,
Hmm.
you get clammy hands, all kinds of bodily signals. And that is your intuition sending you the signal. And it can also send it to you in the positive way too, where it's like you said, it's just effortless. You know that that's the right way to go. But because, we're taught to think logically and rationally, we oftentimes override that and it leads to really crappy outcomes.
Yeah, I love that you question everything, and I love that you know, you haven't been, that sounds to me like you've always questioned everything throughout your life and you haven't been allowed the conditioning of the world or society or other people, condition you to the way that you should think or the way that you should feel. And it sounds like you're really intuitive with your intuition, like because you're basing it on how you feel that inner feeling, because if it feels right in your body, if it feels like expansive
Yeah.
or ease, or if you're feeling like constricted or you feel that tightness, and you kind of know it's a signal, your intuition's letting you know that's not the way to go. So I love that you're in tune with your
Yeah.
emotions and your feelings. And that's important for everyone to be in tune with their feelings and emotions. So that's how our intuition like lets us know. If you're having goosebumps, that's definitely your intuition telling you, ooh, that's the way to go. So definitely being in tune
Exactly.
with your mind, your body connection as you're talking about is key. And our
And one of the
intuition.
things too, I like to like kind of a visualization of this that I like to do or talk to people about is if you listening to your intuition, let's just say you were on a deserted, abandoned island. There was no society, nothing there. Like, what would you do with your time? Like, that's how you should make your decision. It shouldn't, because a lot of the times we're like, oh, I want to be a lawyer because my parents told me I should be, or, society told me I should be an influencer because of all of this stuff that they get for free. And so I think, like, if you think about if I was on a deserted island, what would bring me joy to do by myself that I would actually love to do? And that mentality gets rid of a lot of external things, and it gets rid of like there's no money on this island, there's no, influencers on the island, there's none of this external stuff. So what would you do if you were there? And that kind of clarifies where your path should be. Like for me, I love writing. I love art. I love
Mhm.
photography. I would do all of those things on the deserted island, even though I wouldn't get paid. I wouldn't get recognized. I wouldn't like, you know what I mean? I would just do them because I love them. And I think that when you're doing that, that's what gets you into the flow state. And that's when you can really manifest things effortlessly, as you say in chapter 10 of your book.
Right.
And that's how you can manifest things effortlessly that are aligned with the things that you love to do. For me, photography, writing, art, all of those things, I would, generate opportunities that would come from that by just simply doing that effortlessly because I love it and it puts me in a flow state where I'm vibrating high frequency, I'm
Mhm.
happy, and then you can let the universe bring to you the opportunities. Let the universe do the work for you. You know, there's this one saying that I really love is that, and I'm not overly religious. I would am more spiritual, like the Eckhart Tolle stuff, but
Mhm.
it's saying that, God gives you a gift and, you know, your gift, God will make room for you. Something along the lines of God will make room for you if you're pursuing your gift. So,
Mhm.
in other words, you pursue your gift, you do what you love to do, where time stands still and everything flows to you. And just let the universe bring in the opportunities. Let the universe figure out the how. And you don't have to figure out the how. You don't have to control
Right.
everything.
Yeah, I love what you say about like discovering your gift, and everyone can really discover their gift as you said, like whatever's flowing to you effortlessly or what you do naturally. A lot of times we don't even know that we're good at something until somebody points it out. Like for me, I didn't know writing was a thing for
So
me.
true.
So I
Yeah.
just I had it was synchronicity how it came about. It was just effortless. I just like to write, so I was just writing, and then I was working at a gym. And one of the members had come in and said, "Oh, I have this guy visiting from Hollywood, California. He's down. He's an editor out there. I know you like to write. You should tell him, what you've been up to." So I was like, I
That's
just love
so
writing. I'm
cool.
writing this book. And so then he goes, just send me over the manuscript. Let me take a look at it. Next thing I know, I get a call like a couple of days later. He's like, this book looks great. I'll help you get it published on Amazon. They did help me get it all set up and,
That's
and did it.
awesome.
And next thing you know, then I'm in contact with, I was like, let's put it on Audible. Okay. And I contacted you. And then it just kind of all flowed. But what I'm saying is like, I
Yeah.
never knew I had that gift, but it was always I just always wrote and I just didn't think, oh, what's the big deal? And then, but you don't know what your gift is till you actually just put it. So I just put it out there and did it. And it just all flowed for me. Other people like I talk
So
to, like they
cool.
come to me like, I've been trying to write a book for like 20 years and I just can't get past it. And I was like,
Yeah.
but I'm sitting there thinking to
I
myself,
hear
for
that a
me,
lot
it
too.
was so
Yeah.
easy. It was just like effortless. Like, I guess that was my gift.
Yeah.
Like other things, like if you tell me to work on a car, forget about it. Like,
Hmm.
other mechanic guys,
Exactly.
friends that I
Yeah.
have, they're like, "What are you talking about, Rob? This is easy." I'm like, Okay, well, that's your gift. You know what I'm
100%.
saying?
Yeah.
So whatever's coming like effortlessly, easy, that feels like synchronicity that just flows in your experience. And sometimes we don't recognize it, but it's good just to ask yourself, like, what comes to you naturally, what comes to you easily, in life, and what do people
That's the
contact?
biggest key
Yeah.
for sure for people listening that they need to realize is that when you want something and it's because of an external reason why you want it, maybe you want to be, an actress because you want to be famous or because of the money, or you want to be an author because you want all of, you want so much success or whatever, and it's all external driven. That is never ever that you're always going to face so much resistance by pursuing a path like that, as opposed to if you want to be an author because you love writing, like you will
Yeah.
probably attract all of those things anyways. But like you said, you're not going to get there by becoming, a musician where it's like you can't even play an instrument and you're grinding and you're struggling and it's creating all this negative energy. It's not going to come naturally to you. You're gonna face so much resistance on the path to that where it's gonna feel hard, and it should, like you said, it should feel effortless. It should be something you love to do. And I think we're taught a lot of the times in school and stuff that, work should be hard or it should feel like work. And it's like, it
Conditioning, yeah.
doesn't have to, though. And I don't think that it should. I think it should feel fun and fulfilling. And
Yeah.
I think that work shouldn't feel like work. I think it should feel good for you and it should feel purposeful.
I think that word work's going to is going to be taken out of the dictionary soon, and it's just going to be
I
people
hope so.
doing.
I don't like
Yeah,
it.
they'll be doing like, okay, people are just going to do what they love and get paid for it. I mean, that's great. Like, get paid to do what you love, and what the way to get paid to
Yeah.
do what you love is simply by just realizing what your gift is, what we're talking about, what comes naturally to you, what comes effortlessly to you, and then the marketplace will pay for that skill or whatever. It just
Yeah.
comes about that way. So it's just discovering that, like, what adding value to people's lives at what you're good at, what naturally comes to you. We all have some gift that, as you said, God gives you. And it's just a matter of discovering it and aligning with it, aligning with your true nature. And I love writing so much. I ended up writing another book, which I'll probably ask you that one's already out on Amazon too. I'll probably ask you to do that one too.
That's
I have like
awesome.
two other
Yeah, I
ones
would
that I
love
already
that.
wrote that I just didn't get to that. It's because it just flows through. It's because of what I love. So that's what I do. I write books and they
So,
just
what are the themes of the other ones that you're
okay.
working on right
The other
now?
one is that's also about manifesting, and it has to do with my experiences where I go on like cruise ships with people. I kind of follow along with Abraham Hicks, who does a lot of manifesting, and like that particular audience is interested in self-realization and and realizing their true nature. A lot of them are the Abraham's Cook crowd. They're manifesting, but they're putting forth like a lot of striving and effort. So they have to do like a lot of
Yeah.
visual boards and
Yeah.
visualization. They feel like they're putting forth all this effort. So when they resonate with some of like this book that I just came out with, there a lot of them are resonating with that one. I am here. I feel good. I hope you do too. That's like the my latest book that's out right now. But a lot of them are resonating
That's
with that. So they're
awesome.
booking calls with me like on the cruise. So I'll go on the cruise ships and then we'll have one-on-ones on the cruise ships. Like I'm doing one in March right now. That's coming up. We're going to the Caribbean, to Dominican Republic, St. Martin, St.
That
Kitts.
is so fun to
Yeah.
combine like travel with that. That is
Yeah, isn't
such an
that
awesome
great? Like
idea.
that just became
Love it.
about
So
effortlessly because
fun.
people started saying, "Oh, that sounds like a cool idea." I just did the trip, and then I get to,
Such a good idea.
meet with you. So I
Yeah.
do that, and then I'm going to in July. I'm going to Amsterdam, to the Netherlands, and that one's going to like Berlin, Germany, Sweden, like all those countries. I can't even pronounce them all, but they're
That's
all out there.
amazing.
So I'm gonna be doing that. I've already gotten some people wanting to do that one too. So it just kind of just all just flowed, just like effortlessly, and
Effortlessly.
yeah, I just keep
Yeah.
going back to that
That's
word.
awesome.
Like I just love the book
I
design.
love
If you
it.
saw the book design, Awakening to
It's such a beautiful cover
Isn't it
too.
cool?
Like
Like
it's
Pixel
very
did that. The
pretty.
guy
Yeah.
from Hollywood, California was involved with Pixel and they designed it. And then my other cover, oh, I just
Oh,
got
it's
the
nice.
book here. I'll show you real quick. This is my other one that I was just talking to you about that talks all about the experiences on the cruises and all the coaching
Oh,
for
that's
stuff like
awesome.
that. This is the
Yeah.
one, I'm
That's,
here, I
you know
feel
what?
good.
I love that it looks like a theme. You know what I mean? It's very cohesive. The
Yeah.
colors and the stuff, like it look they go together, so it's very recognizable. So I love that.
Yeah, it keeps it in line so people can recognize the themes of it. But yeah, I'm excited about
Exactly.
the books. I love doing just like writing, and I like coaching too, like meeting people like one-on-one, doing Zoom calls like
Yeah.
this, meeting like I would have never met you if it wasn't for, writing a
I
book.
know. It's
Listen,
it's so
you're
cool the opportunities and the people it brings about for sure. And especially when you put out a work like writing, for example, it and it resonates with somebody, it attracts the right type of people to you because I'm like, if my book resonated with that person, I want to pretty much be friends with that person because I already know that they have the same kind of values or the
Yeah.
same, we're on the same
Like
page
the
with a
same
lot of
tribe or
things.
whatever. Yeah,
So
we're in the same tribe. Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I was looking at your book back there. I had looked at your Instagram. I was looking at your background there. Wake up and smell the coffee. That's interesting too. So you wrote a book too. That's great. And yours gets. I
Yeah.
was seeing one on the Instagram that was talking about I think it was shopping or something like that, or like being
Yes.
that looked
Yeah.
interesting to me.
So my latest book is the Wake Up and Smell the Coffee one. My
Right.
my first book that I wrote was The $1 Million Bakery. So that's when I
Okay.
was in the hustle and the grind. So that's more about building a very successful business.
Oh, cool.
But there is a lot of good information in there if you're an entrepreneur. But my latest book that I wrote, I just published this past November, Wake Up and Smell the Coffee. It
Hmm.
does have a lot of similar context to the messages in your book too. That's why I think I resonated so much with it. But it's about learning, detachment, and it's about living in the present moment and getting rid of material things, getting rid of vices because we oftentimes self-soothe with a lot of things like alcohol, excessive shopping, drugs, different things to alter our state when we need to learn how to just deal with the emotions that we're feeling and work through them. And so it's written from a perspective of somebody who was very much in the grind and very much in the Western mentality. I loved shopping. I loved wine. I loved all of these things. So I was a typical,
Western
I'd
girl.
say
Yeah.
typical American girl, but
My
no, I'm
teenagers are all
Canadian,
over
but
that. Yeah.
totally. And I
Yeah.
was so engulfed in it. So I wrote it from a perspective that I think a lot of people resonate that are around my age range
Hmm.
to kind of hopefully shift their mindset over to the more of the self-realization and the detachment to material things
Yeah.
and just finding true fulfillment and happiness with friendships and connections and things that actually feed our human soul as opposed to trying to numb it and dim it down.
That's great. Yeah, I put that one in my Amazon cart. So I ordered it because I wanted to check it out too. So it kind of resonated with me, some of the things
Awesome.
you were saying. It seems a lot of similarities that I was doing. And I think that's just why we resonated and came together because a lot of the things that we're talking about,
Definitely,
we're
yeah.
kind of in tune in alignment with that. So I think it's great. So yeah, I definitely have that one in there. Yeah, it's interesting. Some of your photography too was great too. I was looking at some of your stuff on Instagram. You have was that two dogs you have there? Is that your dogs or?
Yeah, so I have
Yeah.
two dogs. We have no kids, just two dogs, my husband and
Oh,
I. I have a little mini dog and then a sheepdog. And,
beautiful dog.
we love to travel as well. So we do a lot of traveling and, photography. My husband's really into marathon running. So,
Mm.
but another reason why our bakery business didn't really align because we're both into health, fitness, wellness, all of that stuff. So we're like,
Yeah, that was gonna be my
we can't
question. You're in
really
the
sell.
bakery business. How do you focus on, I guess
Yeah.
maybe that's what probably woke you up to like, oh, maybe I
It
should
is.
bakery business, but
Yeah,
I'm
it
trying to
is.
be
Because in the
healthy.
beginning, like I said, I did eat all of the crap and I was very overweight and very unhealthy. And so gradually, the more I got into the health and wellness stuff, I was like, I was feeling a strong sense of cognitive dissonance by not consuming these products myself. And then I feel guilty selling them to other people. So I had to let that go. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
really
good.
happy. I'm so much happier now.
Well, it's because
So
you're more authentic. You're being authentic to who you truly are.
yes,
You knew that wasn't who you
100%.
were. Now it's like you're in alignment
Yeah,
with being authentic. And I think a lot of people
so
like
much better.
yeah, a lot of people might be looking at it and be like looking at us and being like, okay, well, that's great. They're out there, pursuing their dreams, doing what their loves. But maybe there's people out there that are in a situation like, I don't know, I'm living like paycheck to paycheck. I don't know how these people don't do it. Like, she went and, made this big business, sold it. She probably has plenty of money. She can go out and just do her writing and pursue it and she's fine. I almost wish like everyone could have like all the money in the world so that they could just say like money's not that important. I heard an analogy somewhere that really resonated with me. Somebody was saying like if you compared money to like a bar of soap, it's like kind of like we use it like when we need it, like, but really there's so much more to
Hmm.
life and happiness and joy. It's just like they put it in like in that context, and they said like, if you walk into someone's house
I love
and
that.
they had like a big room full of all of these soap bars, you look at them like. they're kind of strange. Like, what are they crazy? What are you like soap
Yeah.
parts for?
Well,
Those kind of like
weird.
these people that are out there striving for to make all this money and do all these things, and they think that's the one thing that's gonna make them happy. But if you look at the big picture, it's just like a bar of soap that you put on when you need it. Ah, I need some money just to go here and do this. But then it's not. It should. It's not like your foot. Like it just puts it in perspective, I should say. So it
It
kind
really does, yeah. And the whole thing is too, I mean, when we were in the hustle
of,
and grind, we had the most money we were making, during COVID. Actually, our business did really well during COVID
yeah.
and then kept doing well after that. And, closing it down was actually really financially not the best decision because we had invested so much into the growth of it. But my heart just wasn't in it. And I knew that there's no way I could continue living like this. And honestly, even though it wasn't the best financial decision to do that, like I feel I can't even explain how much better I feel. So definitely the right decision. And the same thing that you just said. Like I do wish that people could experience that so that they would know that it's not the end all and be all. And if you start to learn how to detach from material things and you start implementing that, then all of a sudden you want less stuff and then you can work less. You don't need to work your life away and you can just enjoy, experiences, enjoy having dinner with your friends. If you start to learn that, you don't need the Gucci bag, you don't, if once you start learning that you don't need to have these things and you stop wanting them, you all of a sudden you don't need as much money as you thought that you wanted.
That's a great observation. Yeah, it's like sometimes just the simple things in life that can bring us joy and fulfillment. And we don't need like all these material things to make us happy like people think that we do. It could just be the simple things. It could be sitting here having a cup of coffee, having a nice conversation, with
Exactly.
someone, connecting with them, going out. And I remember my grandfather, he'd go out and like kick the can. They'd go out and play kick the can, and they were like happy as can be. And you hear about some of these
Yeah,
kids in Africa that are all poor and they're running around the huts going, oh,
totally.
they're all like happy. Like, so it just goes to show you,
They're
like
super happy.
everybody
Yeah.
wants this happiness, without any sorrow. This is what everyone wants. And what they don't realize is you can have that without having all the material things. You just have to realize, look inside and be like, wow, and be in that state of awe and appreciation. And going back to what we said earlier, what's wrong with right now? Unless we start entertaining our thoughts and believing these thoughts in our head, everything is being taken care of for us. Everything's coming to us. And when you realize what you truly are and you can see how great and good the universe is and how everything is brought to us and it's attracted to us. We don't have to do it all. It's all coming to, we have everything. It's all coming to us. We act like we got to do
Yeah.
all this. No, it's all being provided and coming to us effortlessly. If we just can just sit back and realize that, we'd have so much more peace and joy. It really is that simple
It's
as
so
just
true. And if you look at our society too, we are in the wealthiest of societies. We have access to so much stuff, and then you look at our state of being. We're, you know, mentally not well.
a lot of
We're more
depression,
overweight, the
anxiety. Oh yeah.
obesity, exactly, addiction, all of these things, we're feeling like the worst, even though we have access to so much stuff. So that's like, I mean, that's awakening in and of itself, because if you look at other countries who have, much less, and like you
Mhm.
said, they're happier, it's because they don't really know what they're missing out on. But
Yeah.
because our economy is so driven by consumerism, we're aware of what we're missing out on,
Mhm. Are
supposedly,
we really
by all
missing
these
out
marketing
though? Missing out
companies.
on the misery.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. But just because of that, disconnect with what we think we're missing out on, and them over in these more poorer countries, even though I think that they're less poor than we are, hypothetically,
Mhm.
because they're happier. And I mean, happiness is wealth, I
Mhm.
think, more
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And you have to compare the two and see what are the differences. And once you start challenging those things, you will really start to see how messed up our society is, and you'll start to think of it in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, our joy is it can just anyone that's listening to us, they can be joyful, happy, no matter what the outside looks like or what the mind or your thoughts are telling you the way it is. You could just realize what you truly are, that you're infinite, that you're effortless, that you're the infinite consciousness, that you're the presence that's just right here, and all these other things are coming and going, and you can relax, and it's all being taken care of for you. Everything you're attracting, you'll find that. Like, I just found like when I just sat back and relaxed, it was when I look back now and I was like doing all that striving and efforting, I'm like, it was all doing it automatically anyway. It was all going. I acted like I was the one, like almost
Hmm.
like that ego, like you said, like
Exactly.
I'm the one
So
doing it.
true.
No, it's all just
Yeah.
happening for you. It's all happening automatically. So why not relax and enjoy the ride and follow your intuition, follow what's fun, follow what's easy, what's joyful, what's expansive, what feels good to you, what resonates with you. Follow that. Life's meant to be fun. Life's meant to
And
be,
why wouldn't you want to do all of those things? Like you
yeah.
said, like that sounds amazing. Why would you want to do life any other way? I don't
Yeah, you
know.
have the choice. Like I let people realize they don't have it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here to tell you, you do have the choice. Follow your joy. Like if it starts feeling hard and effort, back off. Like go go find your joy. Like
exactly.
you will see. Like
That should
things.
be the indicator.
Yeah,
If it starts to feel hard,
mhm.
like
A
you
lot of
can still
effort.
challenge yourself
Yeah.
in other ways, but if it
Mhm.
feels like you're creating a lot of resistance and a
Back
lot
off.
of,
Yeah.
it feels super hard, it just, I don't think life should feel that way. Yes, hard things are going to happen to you. That's just life. But when you are pushing and you're pushing and it's creating that resistance, that's when you know you need to, okay, wrong, let's redirect, you know?
Yeah, we all put the meaning on whatever's happening in life. Like our minds are putting these labels on what's happening. One person might put a label on it, like, the glass is half full. Some might say, so
Yeah,
you can like look at any situation and somebody might be like something happened to their business and they lost it. Like, oh, well, I learned from that. My next one's going to be great. Another person be like devastated. Oh my goodness, I don't know, I'm going to eat. Or, they lose their job. Like, I'll never get a job again. Another guy say, oh, well, the universe or God has a better job for me. And they go and they get a better job and like, oh, look at all these opportunities that happened because I didn't
exactly.
have. Like, it's a lot of it's just your
And I
perception
love
and
I
the
when I
meaning.
learned about that kind of mentality, I really loved when I learned about from Eckhart Tolle where he says it's not good or bad, it just is. So I
Yes.
find myself saying that a lot of the times and like, if something supposedly that I think my mind thinks is bad, I'm like, no, it just is because that happening could lead to something better
Yeah.
than what was happening before. So it's like if you just take the labels of the good or the bad and just say, no, it just is. And, he has a lot of stories that he shares in his books
Mhm.
that can help people understand that. But just saying that simply things are, and I find myself doing that too when I'm in conversations with my husband or anybody else, like friends, they'll be saying like, yeah, I'm just really stressed out. This is really crappy situation. And I'm like, well, it just is. Like you don't need to put a label on it. You don't know if it's crappy. What if it's a little bit of suffering here, but like the best outcome you could have possibly imagined came from that situation. Then all of a sudden it's not a crappy situation.
Right, it's a
So
different perspective. Or even why
yeah.
even give it airtime? Even if that is happening, why not just think about like something that's, there's so many other things we could
Yeah.
think
Move
about.
on from
Yeah,
that
yeah, move on
thought
and
or
think
move on
about,
from
okay,
that experience.
yeah, get into a solutions mentality. Oh, what can I do that's fun? And like you say, go
Yeah.
back to simple. Let me go for a walk, or let me call a friend
Hmm.
on the phone, or let me go lift some weights at the gym, whatever. I don't know. Like, just kind of redirect.
Exactly.
And why give it airtime? You can just relax
Exactly.
and just
So
be
true.
okay. It really is insanity to argue with what is. What is, it is what it is. So why
Especially when
argue?
it's
Make
already
peace with it.
happened. You're not going
Yeah.
to change that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just make peace with it. There was one monk who said something like, he's like, "What's your secret? You always look so happy." He goes, I just don't mind. I don't just don't mind what happens. Whatever happens, happens. I just don't mind."
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, is that
It's
great?
so true. The more you
Yeah,
can channel that energy, I mean,
yeah.
that's a winning strategy.
Yeah, just letting go of the resistance. It's the resistance that brings the suffering. The
Yeah.
suffering is really in
Yeah,
the
it really
mind. Yeah, there
is.
might be pain in the body, but the suffering, a lot of that could
Hmm.
be eliminated because it's all just your thoughts you're having about the situation. If you could just make
Absolutely.
peace with the present moment and just go back to that, like, what's really wrong with right now, unless I'm really thinking about it. Everything's taken care of. Everything's okay. Like when I look around, just like in go to your direct experience. Don't care what I'm saying or anyone else is saying. Just go to your direct experience right here, right now. Like what's really wrong with right now? Like everything's fine.
Exactly.
No matter what's happening out here in
Exactly.
the story, the mind has all these stories, but if I just put my space between it and see it, like I can see everything's okay. Everything's
Yeah, we create a lot of our own suffering from our thoughts. Absolutely.
Yes, it's our thoughts that are making us believing these thoughts when they don't apply to the real us, the true us. And that's why the book really gets into that, like realizing your infinite self. So I encourage people to do it. And I really thank you for doing the audiobook. I'll probably be looking to you to do my next one. because you've done such a great job, and thanks for sharing the work that
Thank you. I loved
you're
doing it. I loved being able to read it all the way through, and I when I read it and edit it, I get to listen to it almost twice, so it really reinforced it, and I thought that it was awesome. I think everybody should get the book or listen to the
doing.
audiobook. It was really, really good.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I thought you'd be a great person to interview since you spent time like doing it and you had wrote me that email. I was like, oh, why don't I have her on and we'll talk about it. So thank you so much
I
for going on.
appreciate it.
And if people want to reach out to you, whatever, what's like a good way that they can get in contact with you if some of the things that you were saying
Yeah,
resonated?
for sure. Yeah, I love that. I love connecting with people as well, especially when they share similar values. So you can find me on Instagram, Rebecca Hamilton Co., and Facebook. I have a website. It's all Rebecca Hamilton Co. So it's pretty easy to find me online. You can just look for the blue hair.
Great. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it. Thank you.